Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pints and Quarts, a 30-minute beer industry news show from Craft Beer Nation. We are here for Saturday. We're one day late today because of the holiday yesterday, but it's Saturday, July the 5th, 2014, and we're going to run down the list here and try and bring you up to speed on some things that have happened in the last 8 days. I'm Matt Miller, got Randy Gardner, Lola Larcy, Ashley Bauer, and Alan Huerta with us tonight. So let's start right with I thought some pretty big news. It's not really big news, but kind of something that upset me as a beer buyer, let's say. And that was a Pennsylvania shop had a picture on the web this week, and that had a large stack of Southern Tier's Pumpkin, their fall seasonal ale. And it's actually pretty good. I like it. It's something that changes from year to year based on the recipe and based on how they make it, so it's always interesting from year to year. But it came out on June 30th. It made it to this end reseller or seller store on the 30th of June, and that to me is too early. So let's dive into here. I know we all kind of have strong emotions. Some are coming down on both sides of this agreement here or this disagreement here, but I personally think it's too soon. It forces me to buy something that I'm not ready to buy. It forces me to buy it because I want it in September and October, and if I don't buy it now, then I run the risk of not getting it when I am thirsty for it. So that's why I dislike things coming out early. Go ahead.
I think that the first part that we should mention is that it wasn't supposed to be there on June 30th. They had sent it to the distributor to hold in their warehouse until the date when they would all be sent out throughout the nation at the same time, and the distributor delivered it early.
They goofed up, huh?
All right.
Yeah, they goofed up.
So what was the release date? Did they say then?
Mid-July. I mean, I'm not saying it's much better, but
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, and I guess this kind of all plays it. What they call it, season creep, or but it seems like when did we have spring beers? We had spring beers in January. It was the coldest winter we'd had in a long time, and you got to go to the store and buy Oberon, and well, not Oberon necessarily, but you've got to, I'm not in the mood for a summer Helles in 30-degree summer or winter.
Well, the breweries brew for quarters. So January through March would be your spring beer. April through June is your summer beer. July through September is your fall beer, and then October through December is your winter beer.
So you're saying they brew for quarters. So what was the third quarter? The July through September?
Yeah, and that would be your fall beer.
So they would brew those beers in the second quarter months?
Yeah, I mean probably April or May, June.
Okay, all right.
Depending on the ABV and how quick they can turn it out.
All right. So the breweries that are using fresh pumpkin can not obviously do that because pumpkins aren't even seeds in the ground yet in those months. So they're using frozen pumpkin or canned pumpkin or maybe not using pumpkin at all.
Yeah, I don't think that even when they do brew late in the year that they use fresh pumpkin. I'm not saying no brewery does, but it's unlikely.
Well, I want to preface my thoughts on this by saying that I think pumpkin is terrible. I don't like that beer.
I actually don't like it.
People say, "Oh, this is
I
like the
love
best
Southern
pumpkin
Tier.
beer ever." No, it's not the best pumpkin beer ever because Ale Works here in Virginia in Williamsburg makes a banging ass pumpkin beer. Cigar City makes one called Good Gourd. That's delicious. Shafley makes a really good one. Pumpkin is probably the last one that I want to have. However, that said, I think that there's just if the original release date for this beer was intended to be mid July, I think it's ridiculous to even have pumpkin beers on the shelf when first of all, nobody even bought ribs yet for their Labor Day cookout, and secondly, no one's even thinking about planting pumpkins. And you got a pumpkin beer on the shelf? Well, in mid-July you'll have a pumpkin beer on the shelf? Come on, man.
Yeah.
So
if they look, theoretically speaking, if they're gonna put their pumpkin beer out in July, that means that their Christmas beer should be out like in September.
Well, no, October. It'll be out in October because that's the fourth quarter. That's when it starts, and you'll see them in October.
Yeah, and I guess the pumpkin beer is spiced, the pumpkin pie spices and whatnot. And I don't know. I guess I don't like things. I guess maybe I'm just a hophead, and I want it fresh, and I want it fresh when I want to drink it. And maybe I just need to get over the fact that beer is meant to be on the shelf for 6 months at a time. Some of these beers
some beers are, yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
don't know.
Let me interject this. We are the market. Ashley, I understand that you have ties with the business part of it. We are the consumers.
Well, yeah, but you and I and all of us here are not the typical consumers. And if we forget
No.
that, then we're forgetting a lot. We're the beer geeks.
Well,
And the beer geeks are not the typical consumer.
No, and my argument would be that the typical consumer is not thinking of pumpkin beer right now.
Well, I just don't think they'd be putting it out there right now if people weren't buying it.
And if people aren't buying it, that's fine. The market will decide. If people buy it. So, Matthew, if you don't think it's a good time, you may have to sacrifice and not buy it. I mean, if you want to send a statement to them, then be one of the people who does not buy it.
Right, vote with your dollar.
Yeah,
well, and and I guess if I thought there was a movement where we could make an impact things, all right, let's get the internet fired up and do it.
I think that we're powerful enough.
I think I would just be left out. I think I would just get to the end of the year, and in October when I want that Weyerbacher's pumpkin ale, Imperial pumpkin ale, and I can't get it, then I'm kind of kicking myself going, you know what? I should have bought it in June.
But Matt,
stuck it on the shelf.
Okay. Can I cuss? Let's make a decision right now. Can I cuss?
Sure, Lola, you can cuss.
Whose bitch are you, Matt? Whose bitch?
I'm Anheuser AB InBev. I'm their bitch. Yeah.
You're no one's bitch, right? I'm not anyone's bitch. Alan's not anyone's bitch. Ashley's not anyone's bitch. Randy's not anyone's bitch.
Damn right.
No one's bitch. And we are not, even if everyone else does it, we are no one's bitch.
So then let's make a plea. Let's plea to a retailer. Some retailer out there, please buy 4 of these cases as soon as they're available. And 4 of every pumpkin beer cases, every pumpkin beer that comes out, stick them in your back room, and then the second week in September, have a great big I still have pumpkin beer party, and I will reward you with buying half of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, all I got to say is I ain't buying the beer in the first place. I just despise the fact that
I didn't like it either. I had it a year ago, and I didn't like it for reasons other than what other people say. I thought it was too pumpkin-y, and I know that's just me. Everyone else liked it. But I don't
think anybody on this panel likes Southern Tier Pumpkin.
I actually
apparently Matt does.
I love this. I love the aroma of it. The taste is okay, but to me the aroma is just heaven in a glass. I love the pumpkin spice.
I think it tastes straight like candy corn, so I'm kind of with Randy on this one. But like in my opinion, the best one I've had was not Southern Tier. Sorry, we're off that one. No, the Epic and DC Brow from Representation.
That was
that's
amazing.
my favorite pumpkin ale. But one thing I like, kind of guess positive on the whole coming out in July thing. Last year, New Belgium had the Pump Kick, which was their fall seasonal, which didn't really seem like fall seasonal to me. But it was their pumpkin beer. Well, I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was a bad fall seasonal. Like it was horrible in that respect. But
yeah.
Since it came out in July, and I mean, it was really light. It was really kind of like lemonade and spicy, a little bit of that. And it was I thought it was perfect for summertime. But they called it Pump Kick because it had the cranberry juice and the pumpkin puree or whatever they use. Which I thought was great for summer, but not for fall, October when they were trying to push it forward.
Yeah, that one just didn't land for me. It wasn't bad. I just couldn't. I didn't get what they were trying to go for there. So, and there again, maybe and maybe I went into it thinking I was going to get Cigar City's gourd beer or something. So a good gourd. So I might have gone into it with the wrong expectations.
Look, in Southern Tier's defense, I will say that their Warlock is good.
I love some of the beers.
Yeah, Warlock is good. Pumpkin not so good. I want somebody to make a pumpkin stout aged in bourbon barrels. That's what I want. I'd buy that.
I'm sure you'll see one soon.
Yeah, barrel aged Warlock.
Oh, that would be. Oh.
So we're not down on Southern Tier on a whole.
No, Southern Tier makes some quality beers.
He didn't. The president Finn Mink did write a nice little letter saying, hey, hang on a second. We had one distributor get a little excited and threw this stuff out to the store. They didn't understand it. We want them to hold it, kind of thing. But I don't know. Too little, too late, maybe.
If they brewed if they bourbon barrel aged Warlock, they could put that on the shelf in March, and I'd be buying that bad boy.
So we're all just big hypocrites. If it was a beer we really liked, then we wouldn't care if it came out early or if they made it year round.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, Pumpkin year round. Damn it, no.
Here's one fun thing. I've gone to a couple retail stores recently. I won't name any names, but they bought extra pumpkin beer so they could put it out throughout the spring, and people were buying it. So.
Well, and if that works, I mean, if they find there's a market, maybe they'll go year round. That would be great. I love being able to have whatever I want year round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already said we tend to buy what we like year round. In fact, me and Vicky and I, I'm an English major. Vicky and I, we chose the theme for Friday night, and we chose decadent, rich beers. Because that's what I like, and I don't care what people think. I know it's midsummer. I don't care. That's what we're having. And I'm going to have a Southern Tier.
Pumpkin?
All right. Yeah.
No, not pumpkin.
All right. So we beat this down. Okay. We beat this one down, and I think we all have mixed emotions on it, and we'll complain when I guess I won't complain when Celebration comes out in August because
I know.
I love that season.
It'll be October.
Yeah. So all right. Anyway. All right, Randy found a couple of things this week on Beer Pulse about New Glarus.
Yeah, so as Matt said, our friends over at Beer Pulse posted this the link to an article about New Glarus's fruit cave. They have a wild fruit cave, and they're going to be here pretty soon releasing their first beers from their fruit cave, and I don't think it's really a cave. I think it's just a building that they built specifically to keep like a separate brewery almost to keep these wild beers separate from their regular production line. The whole infection thing.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be mostly basically sours. And the first one that they're going to be releasing is an Old Brune, and it's apparently that they've had another beer like this called Enigma. I don't get very many New Glarus beers here in Virginia, but Enigma apparently was a really good seller for them, as was a beer they had called Wild Sour Ale.
Ooh.
And, did you have that?
No, I've got a couple of their sours in my cellar, but not that one.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
I would love the article said that was first released last summer, and it quickly evaporated from store shelves amidst national acclaim. I don't know how much. Well, I can see how you can get national acclaim for a beer, but when it's just sold in one state, never mind. So anyway.
Well, there's all these friendly people who will trade for it. That's where the rest of us get it.
Yeah. So the first beer in this line is going to be the Old Bruin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second beer that they're going to put out is going to be a Belgian lambic style blonde ale, and it's actually going to be a goose because there's no fruit added to it, right? So that's going to be the beer that goes out, a goose that's coming from those guys, and that beer is going to serve as a base for like a certain amount of their fruit beers. So they're going to have this sour goose that's over here, and then they're going to have like these sweet beers that are elsewhere, and they're going to blend those to make these excuse me, to make these special releases that are coming up. And it says that their second beer from the Wild Fruit Cave will be a Belgian lambic style blonde ale. It's stated to provide the background for this year's New Glarus Cranbic. Now, that sounds delicious.
Yes.
Lambic with cranberries. That I hope that comes out in around Christmas time or Thanksgiving, Christmas time. That would be appropriate, right? Not in March.
Come out and I'll have with my Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, turkey and cranberry. Yeah.
Ooh.
Awesome.
But
Have a little turkey with my cranberry.
I mean, if I lived in Wisconsin or in the Wisconsin area, I mean, to be honest with you, I would be totally stoked about this news and be looking for, because I love sour beers, and for New Glarus, such a highly regarded brewery. I mean, for them to be so small, but to have such national acclaim, for them to be producing a style that I hold in high esteem. I mean, I would be excited if I live in that area and knew that these beers were about to be hitting the shelves. And it's not just going to be these. I mean, this is kind of just like the first releases coming out of their cave. So there's probably going to be a lot more sours to follow. These two specific, or these two initial releases. So the people up there in Wisconsin, I mean, you guys have a lot to look forward to with New Glarus. I mean, like I said, they know how to make good beer there. I have had a couple New Glarus beers, and I haven't been disappointed except for Serendipity. But I think that the bottle that I had may have been bad. But yeah, you guys have a lot to look forward to, and you should be excited about that.
Very cool. There was a little bit other news from New Glarus this week.
Their Berliner Weiss, or their Berliner Weiss, they released it. According to them, it was the same recipe as the last summer's, but apparently a lot of people in the market were complaining that the beer was overly carbonated. And but New Glarus is saying that no, it's the exact same as last year, and apparently that style in Europe, Berliner Weiss is something. It translates roughly to like champagne of beers or something like that. Not that. That's that slogan that you're all thinking about right now, but it's meant to be an effervescent beer, and if you get it in Europe, it's probably really carbonated. But you come here, where we drink this style maybe once a year, and it has more carbonation than what we're normally used to. So it's probably, I mean, I'm guessing the people who are getting it aren't sure exactly what to expect. So this beer they're perceiving to be overly carbonated. So New Glarus is pulling back a bunch of like everything off of the shelves, like 50 cases. Well, not everything, but they're pulling back nearly 50 cases off the shelves because people are saying, hey, this beer is overly carbonated, and they want to make it a point to put out a consistent product to their patrons. So they're gonna bite the bullet and take a L. Yeah, they're gonna take a L on this beer and pull it off the shelves because they don't want I guess their reputation being damaged and have people thinking that they don't know how to make beer or don't know how to carbonate their beer.
Ashley just pointed out here that the mouthfeel, according to the BJCP, says very high carbonation. So, and they're, again, hey, they're doing some public outreach. They're pulling this beer back. They'll probably sell it to the beer geeks that come to the brewery, so they're not really much, but they make the good move and answer, what could have been some complaints that got out of hand. So kudos to them for that. The next thing we want to talk about is our review of the week. We scour the craft beer nation or the craft beer community on Google Plus for reviews each week. And this week we're bringing you another Canadian. I think we've done this 3 weeks now, and 2 Canadians. So the Canadians love their beer. This guy's name is Jeffrey Nahashin, and he is from British Columbia somewhere there, Delta, BC. Well, actually, that's where the beer is. He drank Four Winds Brewing's. What's it called? Four Winds Brewing's. It's just their pale ale. There isn't a special title for it. And almost no head on the pour and a little to no lacing. Not that he was expecting much from a lower ABV brew, but it does lend some clues as to the styling of the beer. The aroma is flavorful with toffee and caramel notes singing a sweet brew ditty that cannot be ignored. This guy's a poet, right? And the flavor is a medium-bodied treat for the senses. The caramel and toffee are well-balanced and complement each other in the subdued hoppiness. They complement each other in the subdued hoppiness remarkably well. This is definitely one smooth beer, and it finishes with a delightful crispness that adds a welcome little snap to the end of each sip. Now, to me, as he describes this, it really sounds like a delicious pale ale to me. Those are all the things I want. A little bit of malt, a little bit of snap, and a whole lot of sweet brew ditty that can't be ignored. So come to the craft beer community. Read Jeffrey's his review. I'll repost it here after the show is over. But he's got a nice skull glass, crystal skull glass that he's got the beer poured into. So read his review, comment on it, give it a +1, and post your own. So just post to the craft beer community. You could get picked next week, and I'm going to mail Jeffrey a sticker. So. That is our review of the week, and our next story comes from Alan. Alan, what are you going to talk about?
Well, so essentially what's going on is, 4th of July is kind of a holiday weekend type thing for most people. They're off for, since it was on Thursday or Friday this week, some people got 3 days, 4 days off. But it's kind of like a big deal for beer. And overall, the craft beer market, or not craft beer, sorry. Overall, the beer market's down. Like, people are buying less beer, but craft beer is continuing to grow. But what we're seeing is, like, with the down movement and the craft going up, it's just like, how are we gonna, or pretty much how is the economy gonna pretty much go about that? If that makes any sense, probably doesn't. But
it doesn't. It doesn't.
It makes absolute sense.
We're getting a bigger piece of a smaller pie. Is that what it sounds like?
That's what's happening. But I mean, since craft's continuing to rise, like, that's the big deal. And quite a few things, like over the past 2 years, essentially 1.2, however they do that math, craft breweries are opening each day, and they're bringing into the market probably like 50.6 million barrels a year for that. And while craft right now is like 7.8% of the market, it's pretty much the whole chunk of that pie we're talking about is taking.
I was talking to my bottle shop owner today, and we were talking about this very thing, and it feels like there's a bubble happening right now. I mean, you can't hardly say that we're going to be able to sustain 1.2 new breweries every day. So it feels like there's a bubble, but she thinks, and I agree, that the bubble really only is with regards to the new breweries. Here, when the bubble bursts, it's not like craft beer is going to fall apart. It's just going to be the breweries that are not doing a very good job are going to fade away, and the ones that are making good beer are going to remain and then grow in the market share from that. So
I don't even think there'll be a bubble burst. I think it'll just be like new breweries opening will just slow down.
Yeah,
it'll have to at some point because it can't keep up at this rate.
Right.
I agree with that, but the other way to look at that too is, if you look at the areas where the new breweries are growing, it's in places where, like, let's say there's not that many breweries to go with, and the laws are changing, like down in South Carolina, like Ashley covered last week. And I mean, people want the beer there, so in the high like impact areas, that's where the breweries are opening at. Like, I mean, like, I know around the country, places opening in, like, hey, I have money, I can open a brewery, but those are still the same ones that we're going to see that are, like, let's say, I mean, I'm not saying when or if they are going to shut down, who knows, but, like, if you look at, like, over the past few years from Brew Association, their numbers, the number of breweries that opened versus the number of breweries that got closed based on sales, it's all, like, I think it's all part of that puzzle. So if you have the demand for it, and it, like, in places around Asheville right now, I think, let's say there, but they have a few that are coming in, a few major ones anyway, and then a whole bunch of smaller ones are opening up. If the smaller ones can't hold their own, they're gonna, like, in the next year or two, they're probably gonna fall off. So,
you know what, Alan? I think it's interesting that you say that, because we were talking about this a little earlier. That as the craft segment of the beer industry continues to grow, and the macro segment continues to shrink, the macro guys are not going to like that. So I think naturally we can start expecting them to start becoming more crafty in their appearance, much like how they have Shock Top and Blue Moon out right now.
And
Third Street.
Yeah,
third shift.
Third shift, and so the point is, it's interesting that you're saying this now, because an hour ago I was upstairs watching TV, and Coors Light is now coming out with a summer beer. Now, never before have any of these the BMC guys produced a summer beer. Well, I guess maybe Bud Light Lime, but that's year round for them. But this is the first time that I've ever seen one of the big guys, one of the macro guys, put out a summer beer, and maybe this is a direct correlation or response to the market share that they're losing, and them trying to do something that mimics craft beer sales or what craft beer is doing right now.
And they're doing different lines. I mean, if you look in the grocery store, I'll see something and I'll think, well, that's new. I've never seen it. And then I'll look at the container and I'm like, wait, that's Budweiser. And I'm like, they're trying to make it seem all cool, like it's something that you can only get, like, if you really look for it. But it's really Budweiser.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
they came out with a special series of cans for the World Cup, because that makes the Budweiser product so much different.
But that's their marketing machine, though, and that that's how they increase sales, and it's the numbers don't lie. So
yeah.
I can't fault them for that. I can fault them for making bad beer.
So the typical Budweiser drinker will buy more beer because it's in a different can. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean,
I gotta get all four. The collectible.
There are the people who are in between who want to be different, but they don't really know what they're looking for, and they get fooled by that. They might look at that and say, "Oh, that's different. I'll buy that," and they don't look at the fine print and realize it's Budweiser. Whereas we look at the fine print and we're like, "That's freaking Budweiser."
Yeah.
Yeah. I will not hesitate from Googling a beer as I stand in the store.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
and
there's an app for that now.
Yeah.
My total line, it doesn't get reception. I've tried.
I want to correct a comment that I just made, and that is I said that I'll criticize them for making bad beer. I actually won't even do that because
they actually make very good beer.
The product is consistent, and that's a hard thing to do in the brewing world, and they do that really well. Their science is solid. What I will criticize them for doing is buying distributors with their volume requirements and bully marketing little guys out of the space. I know the distributors around here, and I see it happen. The big guys are doing everything they can to push the little guys out of the way, and that kind of stuff that's the stuff, the marketing stuff that really gets me worked up about them.
Even litigation, even litigation in the case of Natty Green.
Yes, trying to sue them out of business, right? Yeah. So, all right, we're running out of time here, but we're going to cover one more story. We're going to have Lola talk to us a little bit about beer in space.
This is freaking awesome. I read about this. All right, first of all, it's a new sport now. They've named it. It's kegetry, like keg, but kegetry, or keg-lofting. It's lofting kegs into space. And if you're my age, you might be thinking, kegs in space.
Oh, I totally stole your joke. I'm sorry, Lola.
That's what I was thinking of, kegs in space.
Pigs in space? Yeah, Muppets.
Anyone, Ashley, Alan, know what we're talking about?
The Muppet Show. Come on, go to
Muppets
Netflix.
in space.
Yeah.
My husband told me about it.
Well, thank you, Matt Power.
I was going to say I have your back, Lola. I'm just throwing that out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I remember it very well. I remember it real time because I was there.
So what's he want to do? He wants to send this beer into space and then bring it back down and drink it?
They've done it. They've done it 2 times before.
And does it do anything for the beer?
No, it's a stunt. It's totally a stunt. But like beer brew dogs, which we love, it just kind of brings attention to beer, and it's a different way to present it.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything to the beer.
Oh, yeah.
Their name, they go by, hold on, it's here. So I've been drinking quite a bit. I've had a bomber of something and a 12-ounce of something and some wine. So their name is Team Numb, which is how I feel right now. Team Numb.
I can see some hipsters saying, "Oh, I can really taste that upper atmospheric radiation."
No, they don't.
You get that on the back end. On the back end, I get that radiation back here.
They don't play that. It's not because of that. I tried to determine what beer it was. The most I could find, I found different articles. The most I can find is that craft breweries in Portland donated kegs. They didn't say what breweries, but we know it's from Portland and it's craft beer. One of the articles said it's craft beer, so it was donated from craft beers in Portland. And they've done this before. They did this in 2008 and 2012. But now they're going to have 2 different components to the rocket. One's going to have a 5-gallon keg One's going to have a 15-gallon keg, and it's going to go 20,000 feet above the ground. It's not quite space.
Yeah.
It's not quite. I mean, it's still within our atmosphere, so it's not like they're going out to where no beer has gone before.
It's the Felix Baumgartner beer.
Yeah.
It's still cool, and it's going to go 650 miles per hour, and it's going to have parachutes. And then once it goes out there, it's going to parachute down, and as soon as it comes down, they're going to drink it.
I was going to say, you're not going to be able to open that right away. That would be the shakenest beer of all shakenest beers.
No, I didn't think about that.
Just like hand that to some frat guy and watch what happens when he pops the top. You know
what? The articles did not mention that. None of the articles I read mentioned that. That's going to be some freaking shaken up, explosive beer. But I found a video of them opening a beer after they did one of these things, and they were opening it. I didn't see that they were drinking it, but they were opening it. So they've done this before. The difference is they've never gone as high up as they've gone before, and they're doing a 5-gallon keg and a 15-gallon keg. They've never done as much before.
All right. Well, it'll be nice and cold when it comes back down to earth. So Lola, keep us updated on that story.
Okay.
I want pictures of this when it comes back.
All right.
We're going to move for our last little bit of the story. Alan's going to talk about 1 minute about some news in Grand Rapids.
Okay, well, Founders, they're expanding, which is kind of crazy because they're already pretty big, but they're going to do a, what was it, $2.5 or $25 million expansion?
$25 million.
$25 million, yes. I think productivity by 61% over last year. Wow. And they're going to move up from, I think it was 195,000 barrels to 250,000 barrels for next year, something like that. But keep it to a minute. They're
600,000 barrels is what they're expecting.
600,000. Okay.
600. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, as long as they're staying under 6 million a year, they're still a craft brewery. So it's a big expansion, but they're still going to do. And I guess they're not sure if they're going to move to a new facility, or as of last week anyway, they know if they're moving to a new facility or just going to move into their downtown to kind of up production there.
Yeah,
they really want a southern facility. They'd really like to locate in South Carolina.
In Columbia, maybe?
In Columbia, perhaps?
Well, either way, they're still going to only produce 19 cases of KBS a year.
Right.
And make us arm wrestle in the store for it.
Yeah, I'm still not getting one bottle.
I got one KBS.
All right, that is our 30 minutes this week. We're going to talk real quick about some festivals. There is a Yes We Can Craft Beer Festival coming in Bellingham, Washington. Oh, that was yesterday. Never mind. Sorry if you missed it. It looked like a good time.
Getting your TARDIS.
So, yes.
Yeah, go back. Let's go back. Let's do it.
Seven Sisters Craft Beer Music Festival, El Charro Park in San Luis, oh my gosh, California. Obispo?
St. Louis, California?
San Luis Obispo, California. That is next weekend. Hops and Clocks, National Watch and Clock Museum. Okay, that's
Flavor Flav
Friday. Oh my God, yeah, boy. That's in Columbia, PA. Bricks and Brews Outdoor Brew Festival, Martin House Complex, next Friday in Buffalo. There's going to be a Because Beer Craft Beer Festival, Pier 4 Park in Hamilton, Ontario. Hey, there's some Canadians for you. That's next weekend as well. And the 10th Annual Summertime Brew Festival at the Coliseum Complex in Greensboro, North Carolina, next Saturday the 12th. So those are the brew festivals. That is the rundown. We got a little long here this week, but I think we covered important things that are important to talk about, and we will do it all again next week. So until then, drink the good stuff, hang out with your friends, enjoy the holiday weekend, and mind those P's and Q's.